Okay, thank you everyone for joining. We're gonna go ahead and get started. It's just 2:30 now. And thank you all for signing in. We're again gonna be doing a raffle, so we'll do that at the end. But yes, thank you for joining our Air Quality Environmental Education Opportunities presentation. Next slide, please. My name's Eileen Shanahan, and I'm the EPA Environmental Education Coordinator for Region 9. And I'm joined today by Mansel Nelson, the Education Manager with ITEP, the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals with Northern Arizona University. And I'll be starting off talking about air quality environmental education opportunities with the EPA, primarily our air quality flag program and how you can get involved with that, as well as some resources we have. And Mansel will do a more hands-on demonstration about air quality sensors and using them for educational purposes. And just to start out with a quick background, I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Air Quality Index, which is a color-coded system for reporting air quality conditions. And the colors of the AQI indicate how clean or dirty the air is. So when the air is unhealthy, you can take actions and measures to protect yourself. So when the color-coded system is green, the air is good, all the way to purple being very unhealthy. Next slide, please. So our air quality flag program is a great program and opportunity for schools, organizations, and community centers to use flags to display and represent the air quality for each day. Along with physical flags, we also have a simple, it's called a widget, where you can embed an image on your web page homepage about the air quality of that day. You just type in your zip code and it automatically updates that day's air quality. And I'll go more into detail about how to receive a set of flags. But we have about 400 participating air quality flag program partners in Region 9, and we're always looking for more. And it's a really easy to implement program to do education and outreach. Next slide. So the Air Quality Flag Program's goal is to raise awareness of air quality issues and air pollution for members of the public, schools, and community organizations. And it helps people better understand the air quality index and the health messages associated with it. Next slide. So this program can help reduce exposure to air pollution and protect those who are particularly sensitive, including those who have asthma, people with heart or lung conditions, older adults, children and teens, and those who are active outside. So it's a great environmental education program and can help schools receive recognition as a green school. So we have some easy to implement outreach materials that you can order for free from EPA that we'll cover. Next slide. So the first step would to be receive a set of flags, and currently we're offering free flags for our partners. So you would just contact me or Sarah Sullivan, who just gave a presentation. Our information's on the table in the back as well as in these slides. So if you're interested at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then we have a variety of resources to educate your community and an easy way to check the air quality forecast for each day, including that widget, which will automatically tell you the air quality index for your zip code. And next slide, please. So we have sets of these flags at Region 9 that you can order. There's something that can go on a flagpole. Some organizations hang them in a window. Some participating organizations just use the web page widget. And people have also gotten creative who don't have a way to hang the flags by using colored paper and putting them in display cabinets. So there's a lot of different ways to communicate the air quality index to your communities. Next slide. So again, we have free flags to offer, and we'd be very excited for you to join this program. So you would just contact me to receive your flags, and then we have a simple registration page where you would receive newsletters and updates about maintaining the program and doing outreach. Next slide. So like I mentioned, there's ready to implement materials to help you implement this program, including ready-made presentations that you can customize, some great flyers that we have in the back. We specifically have a flyer for tribal communities that can be customized for your tribe. I know the ITEP, the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals, has done some great work with students making TikTok videos about the air quality flag program and translating the information to native languages. So that's been really fun and a great way to engage youth. There's also pre-made morning announcements for schools or community centers, email templates, press release templates, exhibit banners, and ready-made lesson plans to share this information with your community. And that's all available on airnow.gov and some really helpful resources. Next slide. So again, this is the tribal flyer that I had mentioned that can be easily customized. And one thing to note is that this program does emphasize outdoor air, but as we know, indoor air is also very important. So we also have on EPA's website and on the table in the back information about how to protect yourself from indoor air as well. Next slide. So some more visuals of outreach material, some of those lesson plans. We also have bookmarks and posters that we can send you to make the outreach and education really easy to implement. Next slide. We also have some children's publications about air quality that are available for free. So again, at our table, for those who are here with us in person, those are available in the back. This is a series of books, the Cocoa books, that are about a chameleon who changes colors with the air quality index and does education about asthma as well as wildfire smoke and air quality. And those are available to order for free in both English and Spanish. So you're welcome to contact me if you'd like to order those for your community. We can send you them in bulk. There's some really cute ways to educate younger kids about air quality and learn how to protect themselves. Next slide, please. We also have lesson plans to implement using air quality sensors. So there's a few different lessons that can be implemented with elementary through high school students about outdoor air and particulate matter, indoor air, as well as how vegetation can help protect us from air pollution and how smoke affects air quality. And those are all available on EPA's website. And later in this presentation, Mansel will demonstrate hands-on how to use air quality sensors. Next slide. And a simple way to check the air quality index each day is using the AirNow app. You just type in your zip code and it will tell you that day's forecast. And again, you can also embed this into your web page using our widget, which will automatically update. So very easy to check, and then you would just raise your flag with the corresponding color every day. Next slide. The outdoor activity guidance is also very helpful. So you can educate your community about ways they can protect themselves with air quality, of how much activity is recommended for that day, whether it's best to spend a lot of time outdoors if the air is clean, maybe take it easy if it's yellow or orange, or if it's best to stay indoors. And again, really emphasizing indoor air quality as well to make sure that we're protecting those environments. Next slide, please. So when you participate in the Air Quality Flag program, we send quarterly newsletters about updates, new resources, and opportunities. So it makes it really easy to keep the program running, and there's a whole community to support you. Next slide. And again, these are some of our resources on our website. There's a handbook about how to implement this program, story maps that show all the participating organizations. We have quite a few tribal nations that participate in the Air Quality Flag program. And it's really set up to be supportive, and you're always welcome to reach out to me if you have any questions or any ways that we can support with this program. Next slide. So in addition to our Air Quality Flag program, I just wanted to highlight a couple of our core environmental education programs with the EPA. We have our Environmental Education Grants program, as well as Youth and Teacher Awards. Next slide. So our environmental education grant programs are $50,000 to $100,000 grants, which are competition happens every year. Our next one will open in fall 2023, but these support a wide variety of environmental education projects that educate all ages. So it could be youth or focusing on adults. And Region 9 awards 3 to 4 grants every year. Tribal organizations are eligible, as well as state, local governments, nonprofits. So these are some great opportunities where you could apply as a prime recipient, or you could partner with another organization. So if you have any questions about this grant program, you're welcome to reach out to me. Next slide. We also have our teacher award program, the Presidential Innovation Award for Environmental Educators. This competition is open now and is eligible for kindergarten through 12th grade youth that are using environmental education as a context for learning for their students. And winners of this award receive a $2,500 award to use for professional development, as well as an additional $2,500 to use for environmental education programs with students. So if you know of any outstanding teachers that use the environment as an inspiration for teaching, please encourage them to apply. The applications are due January 11th. Next slide, please. We also have our youth award program, the President's Environmental Youth Award, which is eligible for kindergarten through 12th grade students who are involved in environmental projects. This could be young individuals, youth organizations, school classes, or summer camps. And we have 2 winners every year in Region 9, one for grades kindergarten through 5th, so younger students, as well as an award for grades 6 through 12. So if you know of any young people doing inspiring environmental work, please encourage them to apply. Next slide, please. And these are just some helpful resources if you're interested in learning more about the Air Quality Flag program and environmental education opportunities with EPA. And next slide, I think we'll hand it off to Mansel now.
Thanks, Eileen. By the way, I put on my to-do list to sign up for the newsletter and stuff. So I've been encouraging people to join the flag program, but I'm not registered myself, so I'll take care of that. So Mansel Nelson, I work with the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals. We serve the 574 federally recognized tribes. So that's most of you, I think. So I'm grateful for you to come to our session here and encourage you to think about your environmental education for air quality. I taught a course about 5 weeks ago And I'll be doing it again as soon as my boss allows me to, which the reason my boss allows me to do things is if people ask for it. Hint, hint. But I did a 3-day course on air quality education and outreach. And I have a lot of fun doing that course, so I'll do it as often as I can. And to do that, I need people to ask for it. So next slide, please. So there's me and some of my grandkids. Sarah, Eileen, you also inspired me to think about nominating my 10-year-old granddaughter for the award. So I'm going to have to get her something to do. She doesn't have enough. Next slide. So our program is focused on working with students on local issues that matter to them and their community and to the tribe. We're somewhat regional in the sense that I do a lot of my work in places I can drive to, but we can go anywhere as far as our work plan. It's just a question of how much budget we have. I have not been traveling for 3 years, so I have a huge budget right now for travel. So I'd love to come visit some of you. Next slide, please. So one of the programs that we got involved with was a program that came out of Region 10. They called it the Sensor Loan Program. And we were partners with Nez Perce Heritage, and then, of course, ourselves. And one of our primary roles here was providing interns for Nez Perce and for Heritage College to do education and outreach. So if you're not into it yourself, get an intern. I'm a less than one person office, so I hire lots of interns to get the work done. In fact, my favorite thing to do is have college students teaching the younger students, because everybody's learning then. The college students have to prepare, and they learn, and they teach it to others, and they learn. So those are some great ways to do education and outreach. But through the Sensor Loan Program, we were actually loaning out sensors, mostly purple airs, to schools. Next slide, please. But my stated goal is a purple air in every tribal school. Now, I'm a long ways away from getting there, and I need lots of help. So any of you that want to help, great. And I do have some purple airs available to ship out. None of you are Region 10, so you can't do those, but I have others. So if you have a school that you're working with or a teacher, I need to contact them. I have a memorandum of understanding they have to sign that discusses what we provide. And part of it is the education and outreach. So if they're close by, I'll drive, and if not, we'll do it virtually. But we have lesson plans and other things. Some of them come from EPA, some of them come from this loan program, and some of them we have available commercially. So basically, we want people to understand more about air quality. So using the sensors, and what I'd like to do, in addition to the Purple Air Network, is do these mobile sensors, which I'll talk about in a minute. But there's we're generating lots of stuff as curriculum-wise. So teacher guides and things that you can use. And when I say we, I'm talking collectively. A bunch of us are working on this. So there's more material now available than ever before. And I've been in the business now for 24 years working for ITEP, and it's just amazing how much stuff is out there now. And a lot of it's been generated because of these availability, the low-cost sensors. Next slide, please. So hopefully you all know what PM is. Anybody that hadn't heard of PM before they came to the conference? All right, well, that's good. So that's the classic EPA image that you see in almost every EPA publication. But that's what we're teaching kids about, is what are the health impacts? Where does it come from? Are there things we can do to make it less and safer? And the answer is sometimes. And we want to teach those too. Next slide, please. Sarah mentioned some of the different curriculums available, and this is one of the ones that it comes from the the sensor toolbox, but it's just a data collection sheet basically with some prompts to get the kids to think. I actually use it with adults too, but adults find thinking hard, so I try not to stress you out too much. But that's what a lot of these guides do, is give you formats and things for conducting activities. Next slide, please. So the purple area is one of them, but it has disadvantages, especially working with students. It's static. It doesn't move around. Students like things that move around. So I use the Wind Tracker. So a smaller device, mobile, battery operated, and it connects to a cell phone, which these days every kid past 6th grade has one. My granddaughter got one in 4th grade, but it had the SIM card taken out, so all she could do was wireless. But you can connect to your phone, and it collects PM data. You can hook it to yourself, and now you're mobile. You can start checking out your home, your neighborhood, whatever you want to do. I have several interns, high school interns, that are working on projects related, and we're using this device so they can measure PM in their neighborhoods. I'm really, one of the big issues that I work on for indoor air quality, which is another one of the areas I work in, is wood smoke. And we're getting into the heating season now. And for some communities and some families, wood smoke is the greatest threat to their health. We have research coming out of northern Arizona that shows those that use wood stoves have much higher respiratory problems and end up in ERs. And I mean, all the data is there. And so now that I have these low-cost sensors, I'm going to try to get as many students I possibly can testing their own homes and recognizing that there's an issue, and then start working on, well, what can we do to make it better? Which in the case of wood smoke, there are things we can do to make it better. Next slide, please. So one of the exciting programs I've gotten involved in is at University of Montana. There's a researcher up there, Tony Ward, has done a lot of great work on mostly PM kind of things. For wood stoves and all kinds of stuff. So he developed a program for youth called REACH. And the nice thing about it is it's a research-based educational experience, but it's a guided research. So I don't know how many of you have actually done research, but I mean, it can be very simple, as in exploring the world around us. Actually, some of the best scientists I work with are in the 3rd grade, because they're curious, and they don't have the inhibitions that us adults have, and they're just natural scientists. I mean, they're curious, and they explore, and they do things. Sometimes they do stupid things, but they do things. But the idea is learn science by doing science, and it's a guided approach. So a teacher or an adult can take these different curriculum guides. Next slide, please. And it takes you through step by step how to, consider what problem do you want to explore, creating a problem statement, your hypothesis, collecting data, so it kind of just walks you through the process. And of course, the idea is for the kids to do this work. Next slide, please. It's also citizen science. I like that term, but there's also, you could use the term community science. I like that one too. But it's doing science that matters to each of us, to the kids. I'm a chemistry teacher a long time ago. And when I first started teaching, I taught the same way that I'd been taught, which I call the models and theories of chemistry. And for some reason, my students weren't very excited. Now, I was excited because I love chemistry, but my students didn't really care. And I noticed that. So I revamped my teaching, and what I started doing is teaching about things that the kids cared about. So my first unit under this new method was, is your water safe to drink? The kids would literally follow me around the school to see what water I was drinking because they figured that was the easy way to get the answer. Whatever teacher drinks must be okay. So I had to hide what I was drinking because I wanted to make them figure it out. But when you change it around, then it becomes citizen science, and you're studying and exploring and doing research on things that matter. And that, to me, is what community and citizen science is all about. And I like to work with kids to do that. It's also about communication. So this program does facilitate that. And you might say I'm a branch office, and so I'll do a lot of the same things or encourage you to, but you can take pieces of it and do with it what you want. But communication, of course, is very important in science. That's what a lot of us are doing, is we collect data about air quality and then we share it because we want people to be aware and or take action to improve air quality. And it involves mentoring. So I have some college students that can help. I can help. So we don't expect you to do this on your own. Feel free to rely on us for some technical support, as well as the University of Montana has some folks. And so we support the teachers, and they do a workshop each summer. So if you have any teachers that might be interested in participating in this program, you can contact me and I'll get them set up. If I get enough teachers, back to this, if people ask for it, University of Montana told me that they'd bring a crew down and we could do a training in Flagstaff or wherever we get a concentration of teachers that are interested in this program. So if I can get 20 requests, and there's 25 people in here, so 5 of you can ignore me, and the rest of you go find a teacher and have them contact me, and let's set up a training for them, okay? So there's a job for you. Next slide, please. So lots of different sensors. Again, I've already looked at some of these. One of my new favorite ones is this one. So this one I got last week. I was number invoice 0002. So it's brand new. Little quirk, when you plug it in, it's red, and when it gets all charged up, it turns red. It turns red. The engineers don't understand red and green. I told them, hey, fix it. I don't know if they will, but so this one, for example, would be great for looking at indoor air quality and ventilation rates. And in fact, I'm going to work with 4 classes of chemistry and biology students in mid-November, and we're going to do a study on the building using these and collecting data, and we're going to present it to the administrators. By the way, I've been in this building before the pandemic. I know it's pretty bad, so I'm going to have some interesting data. And they have it's a charter school, so they call him a CEO, but they have a new CEO. I happen to know him. I've known him for 30 years because he used to be a teacher at the same time I was a teacher. So we're going to have a heart-to-heart conversation after his students collect the data from his entire building. So these are the kind of projects that I'm looking at and developing in air quality, because we now have these sensors that I can afford, and it's providing a useful service to the community, to the school. We're not going to give the data to anybody else. We're just going to give it to the administrator because this is an educational program. I'm not trying to get anybody fired, although that's tempting sometimes. Next slide, please. And that's what I had prepared, but I'm happy to answer questions. We have a drawing coming up, and if we run out of things to do, you can come up to the table and check things out. None of these are for giveaway or loan or anything. They're for display, because I need them for the kids. We've also got microfiber that I don't want to take home, so feel free to come up and get your microfibers. How many of you use microfiber at home? How many know that your school uses microfiber? Are you telling me you don't go to your school and you don't know? That's what you're telling me. Or they don't use it. All right, well, there's a target audience for you. I was at a school last week, and they were using microfiber. They had 10 tables in the dining area, and he used one microfiber for all 10 tables. It's like, and we were doing an assessment. I didn't say anything to the custodian because he was a nice guy, and I don't want to get him upset, but he needed 10 microfibers, one for each table. But microfiber, what it does is it captures particles, so you're not putting them into the air, which is why as an air quality scientist, I advocate for them. But they're also a more effective cleaning tool, so you don't need to use the harsh cleaners anymore. Soap and water in a microfiber is going to do 99%, and if you do need to disinfect, you can still use the microfiber for sanitation or disinfection as well. So I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just telling you, giving you information, and encouraging you to try it out if you haven't already, and encourage you to go to your school and have them try it out. So, questions?
I had a comment. My name's Ryan
Sure.
Eberly. I'm with Gila River Indian Community.
Yeah.
And the comment was, I'm sorry, Mansel, was
You're
more on
sorry.
the flag program. So we've been doing the flag program now for probably about 8 years. I came out of actually an internship project, and Tyson and David on my staff have been instrumental in communicating this throughout the community. I just want to encourage anybody that's getting into the flag program and I know there's a lot of great resources that EPA has out there, but one of the, I think, issues that comes up when we try to do one thing, it often has a side effect somewhere else. And so with the flag program, what we noticed is that when the day is orange, and if we sign up a school and there's some concern about kids going outside, they keep the kids inside. And that has a negative consequence because kids need to be outside playing, getting energy out. My wife's an occupational therapist. Kids need that activity. So, and the air quality is not bad for the entire day. So it takes a little bit of extra communication to the educators to say, look, fortunately we have air monitors on the community that communicate near real-time concentrations in color, the color codes, so that they could go to the website and say, hey, this morning at 10 a.m. it's green or it's yellow, or communicating that, hey, even if it's an orange day for dust or an orange day for ozone, generally speaking, the mornings are great times to go out and have the kids exercise. Very rarely is there high ozone early in the morning or a dust storm early in the morning. So not just the activity guidance, but thinking a little bit beyond that, like to try to find ways to allow the kids to get outside and do exercise. The other thing is we get maroon days, and I don't know if you have any maroon flags. I don't think anybody ever forecasts a maroon day, so that's kind of maybe why they don't do maroon flags very much. But we actually had a day in the middle of August this year that was a maroon day. Probably not for the whole day, but
I'm glad I was not there.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate what you're saying. And one of the reasons the purple air at every school. And another thing is we need to measure indoor quality, because on those bad air days, the indoor quality could be almost as bad. So that's a whole nother can of worms. But I'm an indoor quality guy, and the first thing I'll tell you, the best advice I'll give you is go outside as much as you can. And in fact, I was teaching at a middle school about a month ago, and the CO2 levels were a little bit high. So I asked for volunteers to leave. I only wanted half the class to leave, but they all volunteered to leave. So I took them outside. So if your air quality inside gets bad, the best thing to do is take them outside. So my son is a sixth grade teacher, and I encourage him to take his kids outside as much as possible. So I agree with you, but Phoenix is a harsh place to breathe air. That's why I don't live there. But although when the snow flies in Flagstaff, you find me in Phoenix regularly. So But thank you very much for sharing that. And that's, you know, the AQI and the way it's in air now is based on regional and on modeling, and you have some regulatory sensors close by, but that's where purple airs can be helpful. They have limitations. They're not regulatory monitors, so their precision's a little bit lower, but it could be localized guidance so that, and it could be, I mean, it could be in every classroom with a computer saying, this is what it is outside. It's time to take a break. Let's go outside. Because I agree with you. Kids need to move around.
Yeah, just to add one more thing, as I'm sure you're aware, if it is an orange day, you can also have the recommendation to not play as hard, maybe not do as much running, or do a game that's a little calmer. If the air quality is bad outside, that is an option as well.
I thought I saw something over there.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Yes. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the precision and rigor of the data that is collected through these portable monitors. And I'm wondering if there's any examples of, for example, if a tribe has an air monitoring station, has there been any combination between a station and a program like this with these smaller mobile monitors to help add on to that data set and supplement it?
No and yes. Any other questions? Yeah, when you start talking about precision, accuracy, and all that stuff, the EPA does on their air sensor loan tool website has some preliminary data that you can look at as far as evaluating all these different sensors. Some of these are so new that that they haven't been evaluated. I mean, I compare them to other sensors to kind of get a feel for, do I think they're at least in the ballpark? So I'm very conscious of that, but and you can do QOPs. In fact, I've got a staff member that's working on QOPs for sensors where you're looking at those kinds of questions. But this is an education session, so I'm not overly concerned about that, to be truthful. I mean, I want them to be meaningful. In other words, I don't want them to be so far off that the kids say this doesn't make any sense. But if it's making sense, I don't really care. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. As an educator, it's more about the process and the information and taking action. But I mean, you have an absolutely good question. And if you are going to start using them for other purposes, you do want to investigate those kind of questions. And EPA is already doing it for you, and there's lots of data out there. But some of these are so new that, you know, I just told you invoice 0002. So that they haven't done the extensive studies on them. But one like Purple Air that's been around for a while and been used for a while, there's a lot of information comparing Purple Air to regulatory. And in fact, one of my friends, Orly, a PhD student, just did a study with the TAM Center looking at answering that exact question. But that's in a different realm. This is all about education and outreach. So, and then your second question, yes. And we're going to see a lot more of it coming up. A lot of tribes are looking at how to use the sensors to complement their regulatory program. There's not specific answers. It's more of each tribe is kind of figuring this out. And we do have TAM Center staff or technicians that are happy to interact with you, and I'm happy to work with people as well. And part of what you were asking about is co-location. And yes, Region 5 had a big co-location project. They were even issuing shelters so that you could co-locate your sensors with regulatory sensors and essentially establish calibration curves to direct comparison and then field them. I worked with a scientist in Alaska, Barbara Traus. By the way, when the sensors started first coming out, she told me what a bad thing they were. But then I went to a presentation of hers about 8 months later, and she'd bought 50 of them. And she fielded them in Juneau, Alaska, where they have the cruise ships come in. And she set up a big study, regulatory sensors. She calibrated, did a calibration curve for every sensor, all 50 of them. She put them out in the Juneau area for neighborhood level monitoring. After 3 months, she brought them back and did another calibration curve with her regulatory sensors. Only one out of the 50 purple areas drifted off to where it wasn't, where the data was no good. So the other 49 had meaningful data. I mean, it was against her goals and what she wanted to do, but she was able to establish neighborhood level pollutant levels from the cruise ships. And it was a very significant study, and she did all the QA, QC, and it's available. If you want a copy of it, email me and I'll ask Barbara to send you a copy of it. That's one example. Other tribes are looking at doing similar kinds of things, but it's still, I'd say, an evolving thing. So everybody's doing a little bit different. There's no specific guidelines about how to do it, but I'm sure someday we'll have some, because we're going to figure it out. I mean, his tribe might do it for us, maybe. They're a leader in this area, so. But anyway, so a little bit more than the no and yes, but it's not really relevant for education. I mean, in my mind, as long as it's ballpark, I'm happy. I don't worry too much about it.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, let's see. Yeah, we should do the raffle. So did everybody get signed in? And you got the numbers?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay, great. So I have a random number generator. So we'll be. Oh. Okay.
I just had a quick question.
You could.
I just had a quick.
Yeah, 30.
I was just asking about plants. Would plants be a good idea to put inside a home to? Oh, would plants be okay to put inside a home to, help with the air while that air quality thing's on?
Plants.
Yeah.
Man, you guys ask tough questions. So I'll give you a thumbnail answer to this question, but there's a lot more to it. So NASA, some 30 years ago, did a study where they put plants in chambers, and they identified that different kinds of plants are able to absorb different kinds of pollutants. And they published a study, and it looks all wonderful. People tried to do it in buildings, and it does not work. An interesting example of this is, anybody aware of Biosphere 2 down by Tucson? Anybody know? Yeah. So there was this experiment where they took 8 people, put them in a big biosphere with a bunch of plants, and they ran out of oxygen. I mean, the scientists thought they figured this out. They could live in a self-contained, so there was nothing going in, nothing coming out, self-contained. It's a huge facility, lots and lots of plants, and they ran out of oxygen. They had to actually add oxygen, or they would have all died. So I'm just saying that it's more complicated than what people want to make it. So you can find websites that'll tell you, yeah, put in houseplants, it'll clean your air. And it will, but not enough to make any difference. So that's my quick thumbnail answer. But I like houseplants as long as you don't grow mold and other things. I had an administrative assistant that had 50 houseplants in her office. You know why she had them there? Is because I could not exist in that room with those 50 houseplants. I had to leave. So anytime I gave her work, I could only be in there for about a minute before I ran out of air and I had to leave. And it was mostly because there was mold and things in the soil and such. So houseplants are dicey, but I have a few, but I make sure there's no mold in the soil. I have one that's lasted now 30 years. So I like houseplants, but I ventilate and I filtrate. I don't depend on the houseplants to keep my air clean. So there's your answer. There's a answer. If you don't like it, you can shop around. You can find another answer. So, all right. You ready for the drawing?
We have a few more people signing up, but maybe would you want to introduce the sensors we're raffling off?
Okay, yeah, sure. So one of them is a CO2. So use this for measuring ventilation. Pre-pandemic, we used to tell people 1100 or below is okay ventilation. And that was based on body odors. So how many people in here stink? That was a trick question because you all do. And the reason we ventilate spaces is body odor. And 1100 was considered adequate for body odors for normal situations. Normal being defined pretty broadly. As in, if you have a kid with just sprayed himself down with a half a can of Axe, you're in trouble. But anyway, today we say below 800. That we've had a shift in thinking about what makes good ventilation. The shift has come about because of the virus. So at 1100, I'm rebreathing about 10% of your air. I mean, everybody's air. So I'm breathing, 10% of the air I'm breathing just came from somebody else. And of course, if it's loaded with virus, I'm breathing their virus. Now at 800, 700, better, I'm rebreathing about 1%. And so the thinking is that if I'm only breathing 1%, I'm probably not going to get enough virus loading to get sick, probably. So that's what this is for. And my recommendation is keep it below 800. The good news for the conference here is we've kept it below 800 most of the conference, even out in the vendor area, because I've been watching it very closely. And the reason I took off my mask is because we're pretty low. And so I'm confident that I'm not rebreathing any of your air, even if one of you is carrying the virus. So, but after I get done here, I'll put my mask back on. All right, so that's one of them. All right, and the other one is the wind tracker. And, well, I'll just leave it there. The wind tracker, it's a portable PM device. So I talked about it a little bit with the citizen science, but it measures your PM. I had one on my shirt earlier, but you can hook it yourself, carry it around, and it runs off of your Bluetooth on your phone. It does have a color coding so that it will change colors when similar to the AQI index. But so right now we're blue, which means green. I don't know why they did blue. I've complained to the manufacturer, but I guess they like blue better. So it'll give you an indication, either color or on your phone. You can look at it. It does data log. You can download the data geo-referenced if you allow your phone to say where you are. So those are the two devices we're raffling off. You can use them for citizen science. You can use them for, how many of you are going to go to a restaurant tonight? All right, well, I am too, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to check the restaurant before I go in. And if it goes above 600, I'm going somewhere else. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm immune compromised. I'm very vulnerable. So I'm not going to take a chance on it. So that's, I mean, these are different ways you can use these instruments, both immediately or working with kids in a school or at home. I use this one at home. When my wife's cooking, it turns yellow and tells her that she just burnt something. And she says, well, I have the hood on. And I say, well, let's open a window. So we open a window and eventually it turns back to blue. So that's how you can use these devices. And we encourage all of you to do it, but I'm going to give away two. These are long-term loans. Remember that if you ever talk to Pat Childers. He's my project officer. If you decide you don't want it anymore, you need to give it back to me. Otherwise, I won't come looking for it. All right, so the winners are?
Okay, we got our random number generator, and the first winner is Marissa Morrow.
Marissa.
Okay, we could do
You can give
another
it away.
random.
It's yours, and you can give it away. All right, so which one are you going to take? You want this one? All right. Oh, you want this one? All right. Okay, and our next winner is?
Our second winner is Tariq Stevens.
Where are you?
Over here.
Oh, right there.
Uh-huh.
So you get the wind tracker. Yeah, this one. Just making sure I'm giving you the right thing. We've had it open because we were using it, but it's essentially brand new. It hasn't been used very much. So, all right. So our two, and remember, those are long-term loans. If you ever meet Pat, or if you talk to anybody from EPA, they're long-term loans because people rat me out sometimes. So, but anyway, encourage the rest of you to consider investigating some of these and use them in your schools, in your communities to do citizen science or just to take better care of yourself. So any other questions? We still have how much time? I didn't hear.
Yeah, we have about 8 minutes if anyone else has questions.
Yeah. So happy to answer questions. If we don't have any questions, I'll be here at this table, and I've got other devices that I didn't really even talk about. And I'm not trying to sell any particular device. What I do is try to get a sampling of things that I'm curious about, and I learn as much as I can about them, and then encourage others to think about how they might use it in their program. But if you find something better and cheaper, let me know, because I'm always looking for better, and especially cheaper, for devices. And for these, I tried to get a 50% discount, but they just wouldn't do it. So I talked really hard, but $153. All right, so, we do have a question.
Hi, Sylvia with Blue Lake Rancheria. I'm kind of cheating and asking a question from the previous presentation that you gave in the last session. You guys talked about air changes per hour, and I'm just wondering what makes up that unit of measurement. Like, what does that mean, air changes per hour?
So air changes per hour is often used in building codes, for example. But what it means is how often the air is completely changing over. So air coming from the outside into the indoor space, air has to leave in order for that to happen. And if you have 5 air changes per hour, that means the room is completely changed over 5 times during the hour. And at that rate, you've got what I would call well-ventilated space. Typical classroom pre-pandemic of the ones that I've tested were about 1 or 2. I'm sorry?
Is that based off a standard room size?
Well, it's based on whatever room you're in. So that's why it takes a while to figure it out, because you got to measure all the air coming in. You got to calculate the size of the room, but it's based on the room you're in. So it's very difficult. Well, I shouldn't say very difficult. It's hard to measure, but it's how you do the specs for a building. But that's why I use CO2, because it's hard to measure air changes per hour. You got to collect a lot of data, do a little bit of math. And you have to have some big fancy instruments because you have to measure all the air coming in. Give me half a day and your help, we could figure it out. But I can bring a CO2 meter in here and I can tell you, oh, the space is pretty well ventilated. Or I can say it's not well ventilated. So that's why I use CO2 for my work. But that's what air changes per hour are. So thanks for asking. All right, well, we're done unless you got more questions. So feel free to come up to the table and check out. I'm going to put my mask on since you're going to come close to me. And you guys can check things out, answer any other questions you have. Feel free to contact me. I love my work, and I like working with people to help them out. The pandemic has been really tough because I had to do it all on the computer. So it's really nice to see live people again. Even if you all do stink and you might be sick, it's still wonderful to see all of you. So thanks for coming to our session, and look forward to working with anybody that would like to contact me.
Yeah, thank you all for joining, and make sure to grab some microfiber towels in the front too.
Also next door in Sand Harbor 2, there will be the closing ceremonies until like 4:30, and there will be a raffle there as well. So
Yeah, come and take some microfiber.
Okay, so my husband's a middle school teacher. He's like the leader of their green team.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. And so are things like these flags available for like non-tribal?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, any school. Or
Okay.
any community center.
Yeah. Okay.
Where are they located?
They're in Oceanside.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. We all of the EPA regions have air quality flag programs. Color we focus on Region 9, but yeah, definitely like California.
Okay. So now like they're trying to figure out like what their like main thing, like they're in the middle of like everybody's like getting ideas of trying to see what they're gonna do for like the year, like have their main project.
Yeah,
And
this
that's,
is
like, that's
really
the
easy to
beauty.
implement.
Right. So I'll throw that at him.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Great. Yeah, that's a good point about the man's question about the activity levels. Like orange, you can like we still want kids to get outside,
Right.
Like maybe not playing tag. But too much.
And then I'd like to point too, though, that is the air quality better inside, though?
Yeah, yeah,
This doesn't mean it's necessarily better inside.
right.
So, very cool. I liked your presentation.